Welcome to the Pop-Off with Gene FitzMagic and friends. Your daily sports and entertainment radio show, live all over the world. You're going to want to hear what these guys have to say. With their hot takes, recaps, previews, and predictions, sometimes these guys might get along, but most times, they won't. So see what happens when these guys pop off about the world of sports and entertainment.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is 12 o'clock noon on a Monday, on a May 22nd. I'm in New York. My man over here is in Toronto, Canada. I am Gene FitzMagic. I'm also with Nigel Downer. We're Caleeb Pinkett short. He will hopefully be with us shortly. But my man Nigel, how was your weekend, my man?
It's been good. It's a long weekend up here, like I told you before. So it's been real chill, man. Like real easy street. So yeah, and the weather has been amazing. Barbecued yesterday, likely barbecue again today. So I mean, we have very similar weather, you and I, and you being in New York. So it's beautiful, man. It's great. It's
gorgeous, man. It's gorgeous out here. I can tell it's gonna be a nice day. I'm looking outside right now. Yeah. Let me ask you a question. What was the holiday for Canada?
This is the Victoria Day holiday.
What is that? Has nothing to do with England?
Yeah, man. Of course, monarchy things. You know what I mean? Like that's how we do up here, man. Like
we don't have any of that stuff anymore. We booted them out in 1776.
Oh yeah, no, I know. You guys are pretty independent.
Respect.
Yeah, as independent as it can get.
But I'll tell you what, I would have took a day off. I would have loved a nice Victoria Day. So when any day I can get off, listen. They want to hold a Simpsons Day. I'll take off for Homer Simpson. So give me anything.
Like they might. Man. Simpsons is what, almost 30 seasons or past 30 seasons?
It's past 30 seasons. Pat says it's 1783. I thought it was 1776. I guess with the war and stuff. I don't know. I'm not a math major. I'm a history major. But I'll tell you what. Some fantastic basketball. I texted you yesterday because you've been calling it. And we talk about some Hail Hydra stuff, man. Like Hydra is in effect. Yeah. They are going nowhere. They go up 3-0 on Boston. Something I don't think anyone expected. I mean, listen, I think maybe some people might have said, hey, Miami can win this series. Nobody expected 3-0. Am I right?
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, there might have been some lucky dudes out there, some lucky people, I should say, out there that have maybe put their money where their mouth is and bet on Miami, but those gotta be few and far between for them to be up 3-0, like for sure, maybe 1-0, especially, Boston coming off of their whole 7-game run and putting so much energy to be a Philly in the stretch. Sure, man, the percentage is pretty low for that team who went to game 7 to win game 1 for sure, but to be the number 1 seed and go down 3-0 this quickly and that I don't even know what the word is, like that monumentally, in terms of points is wild. It's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you what, I feel a little vindication. Because just when everyone was telling me I was wrong on Tatum, he had 51 points, a career high or a record, a league high for games, points in a 7th game of a series. What does he do the rest of the series is kind of like wet the bed a little bit. And yesterday was no different. 6 of 18, 1 of 7 from 3-point range. 14 points on the night, only 5 in the second half, which is the part that hurts the most. Is your team's on the brink of going down 3-0, and you can only muster up 5 points in the second half. Now I know we all know I love to just bash on Tatum, but I'm a little justified right now. I think I'm a little justified.
Yeah, I think you're justified. Yeah.
Is it me? Is this the Miami Heat winning these games, or did the Boston Celtics quit last night? Nobody even had 20 points yesterday.
I think, to be honest with you, I think what it comes down to, and I've heard this before, so I'm just kind of regurgitating some news from the pro analyst. Miami just has better talent all around. I think that's it. And it's wild to say that with the roster that the Celtics have. I mean, sure, Horford's a little, he's past his prime, but he's still a great piece. Smart, he's a really fun, energetic guy to have on the team. I mean, Tatum, he's supposed to be one of the faces of the association, of the league, and not only his team. I mean, and then you have Jaylen Brown. So you have these guys that are renowned with the organization and with their fan base, but they just can't stack up right now, man, against Butler, Love. I mean,
Kevin Love is about 85 years old.
Man, like Vincent and Strauss. You just right now the talent is really on Miami.
And Gabe Vincent yesterday, it was like he couldn't miss. 11-14 from the field, 29 points, 6 of 9 from 3-point range. And I'll tell you what, Boston out-rebounded by over 20 rebounds. They had 57 boards to 35 boards. So you see that stat, and you see when it's almost when it's that significant of a difference, you almost feel like, okay, that team had a win, right? But wrong. It looks like the Italian flag. Mm-hmm. But here's where I think the crucial part was 3-point range. Miami's 55% from 3-point range. Boston only 26% from 3-point range. That's killing Boston this series. How bad they've shot from 3-point in the series. And Jaylen Brown, we're talking about the Celtics quitting. Even Jaylen Brown, who I love. Bring him in. My man's here.
Bring
him on
guys,
in.
Listen, I had a heck of a morning. Well, you guys know I've had a heck of a week. It's been a little
yes,
all kind of stuff. But I sincerely apologize for my tardiness. But because we got an hour and 54 minutes left, it's like it's all good. We about to go ahead and get into it. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I want to apologize to anybody who took my advice. I said Lakers in 6.
Yeah, it's not looking
tragedy.
Well, you still have a shot at Lakers in 7. Still got a shot at 7. We'll see. You never know.
Yeah.
Never happened before, but it could be. This could be the time.
It's not.
But I'll tell you what though. So in case you missed it, we're talking Boston, Miami. We're talking Hydra down there in Miami, as Caleeb, as Nigel
called it, as he always does.
As he always does. And so my question, I'll ask you. I'll just regurgitate some of these questions I already asked Nigel. 1, am I vindicated on Tatum? Number 1, and number 2, is it the Heat winning? Did the Heat win last night, or did the Celtics just quit?
Both. Mm. Go ahead, Nigel. You answer.
Well, yeah, I already answered, but I'll give you info. I think what it is more so that the Miami has the talent, man. That's what it's come down to. Even though I listed the roster of the starters of the Celtics, and that's where all the talent should lie, but they're not showing up right now, and Miami is, and they've got players that I don't want to say that nobody knows who they are, but in the grand scheme of things, I mean, it's like it's like the West Coast Avengers showing up, and the Avengers have already shown up and tried to do their best, and they haven't. And all of a sudden, you have like Wonder Man showing up, and who's like, who's this guy? You know what I mean? So it's like you have this B team, quote unquote, and they're just doing their thing, which is being ruthless, relentless, and they're being led by a master in coaching. Yeah. That's the bottom line.
Bottom line. Eric Spoelstra is amazing, but let's call it what it is. Nigel is great because Nigel's being very nice and he's giving them props. He called them the Avengers. You guys know the Avengers are a team of superheroes, right? Yes. Like this Miami team is not that. You know what this is? Eric Spoelstra went to the Miami Park and Recs and saw a team playing and said, hey, Jimmy, go run with them. Let's see if we could get a little chemistry. That's what they did. They got a rec team and 7 undrafted players.
Yeah.
7. That means they're just hooping at the YMCA on Saturday mornings. They take the court from 6 a.m. to noon. They don't let no kids play or nothing. It's just them. And they add Jimmy Buckets to that. And now they're about to go to the NBA Finals. Will they beat Denver? No. But who knows? They might, because Buckets he's a master. He can do anything. He's literally Thanos out there working with these guys. Like he's playing like it. But Eric Spoelstra cannot not be given his props. That man is one of the greatest coaches to ever coach, because everybody said, oh, it was LeBron, Wade, and Bosh is why. No, he's been consistent since they've all been gone. Wade has been retired. He got a show on TV now. Bosh ain't played since the blood clot. Glad he's healthy. LeBron, you already know what's happening with him. Miami's still winning. With the whole new team, with everything. And I tell you that he went to the rec league. Who loses the play-in game? The first one.
Yeah.
And then just start winning everything else. And go to the finals with guys that you don't even know. If Conor McGregor was in his prime, he'd say, who the fuck is this guy? That's what you'd be saying. Because nobody, it's like, it's unheard of against a Boston team. Like with all of those guys, and I'm going to get into the Tatum thing because, I'm a Tatum fan, but I may have to confess, Tatum may be more interested in being a male model than doing it, because let me tell you, he looked good in his post game last night. The Miami all white, fade clean. I was like, he finna hit the town. You know what I mean? He was looking great, but I wish he focused more on the team and winning than looking good in Miami, because he could do that anytime. He's a multi-millionaire. He don't ever have to worry about that. But for them to lose the way that they lost, I don't mind you losing, but you don't lose by a dub in a game that you have to have. I mean, they were done in the first quarter. By the second quarter,
as a 2-seed versus a play-in too, and as a 2-seed playing against a play-in team.
Come on, man.
Let's not forget that as well. You know what? Seeing his words after the game, well, we gotta snap out of it or something like that. He said, "I'm like, we need, like, where are you? Again, nobody showed up yesterday. I get it, but it's not like it's been that way the first couple of games of the series. My thing is, Tatum, wherever we need to show up. You were 6 for 18 yesterday, 5 points in the second half, 5 points in the second half, and in game 2, you didn't even shoot the ball in the second half. Or the fourth quarter. Not one shot. Me and Nigel spoke about it last week. Not one shot in the fourth quarter. That is a fireable offense, if you ask me.
No, it is. He makes too much money.
You show up in your all-white suit. You think you're slick. You show up in your all-white suit in Miami. When are you going to the all-white party after? Like, what are you doing, man? You can't show out with a dope suit like that and not show up to the game.
Hey, I feel you.
I've been saying it for a while now. I'm feeling a little vindication. I got crushed after game 7, but now I'm starting to feel a little bit. I'm feeling good. Hey, and you know what? We said it for something else last week, but this week we'll say it to Jason Tatum again.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
There you go. So Jason Tatum, yeah, man. I'm kind of done with Gabe Vincent though. Gabe Vincent went crazy yesterday. Had the game of his career maybe in such another, and you called it. No team. If I go, hey Caleb, there's a team that has 7 undrafted free agents on their team. Where do you think they finish up? You're probably like lottery team, right?
Yeah, like
forget about who else is on the team.
Pick in the draft.
Yeah.
That's a lottery team, right? Because get some real drafted players in that team. It's amazing what this team has done, and it shows you how important Jimmy Butler is to a team.
Yeah.
Number one, and number 2, it shows you what Eric Spoelstra means as a coach. Like you said it before, and we've said it for a couple times throughout this playoff run. A lot of people didn't give him the credit deserved because of how he started his career with the players he started his career with. And I get it. It was a fair assessment. Everybody felt that way. It was fair. He is proving now to be one of the greatest coaches, if not the best coach in the league currently, an all-time coach.
He's up there without question.
Yeah.
Because somebody could argue, and I'm not arguing this, but I'm just making the point. Somebody could say Steve Kerr is an overrated coach because he's had Steph Curry his entire career and Klay Thompson and all these, he's had the Warriors team. But it's like, but Kerr is one of the greatest coaches of all time as well. And I think Spoelstra is there. He's done it with more consistent, not more consistently, because Kerr always goes to the playoffs. But what I mean is, like, consistently, Miami is always competitive, right?
3 of the last 4 years in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, and now, but once he got buckets, he's doing this with buckets. Tyler's last name is Hero, but we didn't know he was a dang hero. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't know who Duncan Robinson is. Like, nobody, you know what I mean? Like he's changing. Like, it's just showing how important coaching and a team is over superstar.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's what it's really showing.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that because that's what the point I wanted to make too is, like, Gene, you mentioned Jimmy Buckets and you mentioned Spoelstra, and like to kind of distill it to its simplest form is a premier player who has shown that he will stick up for his dudes physically and on the court, but also not be selfish. We've seen him like crush and get points and do the things, but we've also seen him do things like last night or the night before where he'll drive and he'll just dish out. He feels no ways about dishing out, man. Like, wait, was that last night? I'm getting all my games confused, but anyways, the last game. But yeah, all I'm saying is that he's proven that he knows who he is, but the team knows who he is as well, and they know that they can count on him. And so if we distill it to its smallest denominator, the lowest form is like, we have a premier player who wants to win this thing as a team and do whatever it takes to make sure everybody's involved as well as lead when he has to leave. And now you have a coach who is now this guy has taken these individuals, this ragtag group of individuals, and has built a system around whatever he gets and has gotten the best out of them through that system. He doesn't stick to the same system, right? Because you've got different players. So he's using what he's got, and he's getting them to use their best ability and putting their best foot forward. And it is showing, man. Like, it is showing hard, man.
Yep. It's like watching the Bad News Bears. It really is, because you got it, like you said, like a ragtag team, and then you got the star, but they're all playing above their baseball card or basketball card, I guess you would say. So, listen, I don't think anybody expected 3-0. Do they close it out? Do we have one more game, or are we going to see Boston maybe make a little bit of a
the Celtics will get swept. The Lakers might win tonight, right? Maybe, right? There's a chance. Celtics know, because their heart has been taken.
Yeah.
Their heart has been taken. I'm telling you, it's a wrap.
I think we saw that.
Thinking about next season. They're thinking about firing the coach. They're thinking about blowing up the team. I'm telling you right now, Jaylen Brown is like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm trying to think of where I'm going, because the Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum trio is not going to work. They're going to have to blow it up.
No,
It's just not. It doesn't. It's like it's happened too many times. I get they don't have Ime, right? And Ime is a fantastic coach. But they lost last year with Ime. Then they come back. They got the same team. They got a different coach. They were supposed to walk through these playoffs. They were supposed to walk through these playoffs to the championship.
Is it an indictment on Missoula, though?
Huh?
Is that an indictment on Missoula, the coach?
I think no and yes. The team didn't fall apart the way it fell apart under Missoula as it has. Under Udoka as it did with Missoula. Like, it's like a colossal collapse right now. Like it took Jason Tatum playing out of his mind. Like, you were like, dang, even me as a hater, for them to get past the Sixers when Harden's not even playing, like scoring 9 points and not taking a shot in the fourth. You know what I mean? Like it took a Herculean effort for them to get past that team. And then you're coming here and the Hydra is just destroying you. It's not even a competition.
No.
They won twice in Boston.
Yo, that's the thing. They didn't have to go anywhere. Boston didn't even have to go anywhere. That's the thing. It's like they were home. They played hero ball, and they put out in game 7, but that was everything they had. And then Miami came in. It was like, cool, man, nice arena. Here you go. Here's your L. And that was it. And to your point, twice, man, we've seen what happens if you lose at home. You at very bare minimum, you got to split. You can't go 0-2 at home, because that just sets the tone, and the tone we've seen. Now you go in the white hot heat, and look what they did to you. People were leaving with 5 minutes left of the game.
Yeah, because they were like, we got to get to this party because we know the game is over. It's about to get How about this though, real quick? You mentioned something, and I said it earlier, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Why is Tatum in the all-white Miami Heat color? Because that's what they wear in the playoffs. Look at that. I hope he ain't like, hey, Buckets. I hope he ain't trying to do a KD. Hey,
I think he's trying to.
I'll leave and come play with you. I like it down here. I got the white suit.
It's like a subtweet.
It could have been, but and again, like Tatum is at that point now where, listen, you were talking about with the coach. If they move on from this coach, that's going to be 4 coaches in 4 years. I don't know if they want to.
Here's the deal. It's yes, but it's not. That's not a. And of course, fair don't exist in our world. That's where people get an award. But I'll say it. It's not fair to say that directly, because there was a special situation that occurred as why they lost their last coach, because they would have kept Udoka.
Yeah, Udoka
he wasn't going nowhere.
Yeah, Houston got.
He was going to be locked in. He had an extracurricular activity that forced Boston's hand. So now they gotta try to catch it again. But that wasn't because like they're just going through coaches and all of that. No. It was an extracurricular activity that caused that.
That's a fair statement. My only thing is, I just think for consistency for team, like for for team chemistry and team consistency, I think they might say, listen, let's run it back with this, at least with the same coach. Whether or not, and we'll talk throughout the weeks as we start like evaluating these teams during the offseason. We'll talk about whether or not Boston should make any changes, wholesale changes or not. But I think
they should get rid of the coach.
I know he's on the hot seat. I think I bring him back just so we just
get Monty. There's so many good coaches out there.
There's a lot of good coaches out there. That's a good point.
That's a good point. Like you could go get a coach because they need it. And I think this team might be done. Like as far as like the construction that we see right now.
Yeah.
I think this is over.
You might be right. You might be right because
especially if they get swept.
Yeah, something's gonna have to change because even though all these players are nice pieces, there's something not gelling with them together as a unit.
Yep.
Right. So, and again, we'll touch on that at one point during the offseason, what we think that may happen over there. But let's go over to Denver, LA from 2 nights ago. Denver 119, LA 108. You know what my thing is on this series? I feel like. What do we have? We have one game on, one game out with Anthony Davis. Had a decent game yesterday. Reeves another good game yesterday. They seem like they're in the games. That's why I like we kept saying that he thinks they could pull one out in the next game. A good point. I think they can too because they've been in the games. They're not really getting crushed. Murray's playing out of his mind. But here's who I really feel like you need to blame on the LA side. D'Angelo Russell, 3 points yesterday. You can't make $35 million to score 3 points. Sorry. And when they score 17 points, they're undefeated when he scores 17 points.
Yep.
You got 10 points 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago, whatever it was. 2 nights ago, 3 points. To me, D'Angelo Russell is the issue with this series. If you get half decent D'Angelo Russell, this is a different series because these games have generally been close at points in the games. Each team goes on runs here and there. But so Caleb, what's your take on this series here? And does LA have a legit chance at extending this series at least maybe 6 or even to a 7th game?
Hell no, not that. They have a chance to accept the gentleman's sweep, the Grey Poupon. They might get the Grey Poupon. That is possible, but they're not going to 6 and damn sure not going to 7. That's a no. But I think. One, you're seeing LeBron's age, right? You're running out there with 24 and 25-year-old boys, young men. Boys disrespectful. Young men, and you damn near 40. I'm 43. Listen, I go to the gym every morning. There's young boys in there. I'm not doing the routines like them. I ain't doing triple supersets and all that. Nah, man. I ain't lifting the 100-pound dumbbells. Nah, I'm doing 50s and 60s, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Let me cut you off for a second too. Do you know how many times I'm like, I gotta ask Caleb something quick for a show, and then I'm like, oh, but it's early. It's only like 8:00 here, and then I see him posting already like an hour ago on Instagram. I'm like, what time does this dude wake up?
I get up at 4:00 every morning.
God bless you, man. And
I'm a morning person. I'm not a night guy. I'm a morning person. You ask any of my friends, they know. They're like, ooh, what 7 o'clock? Caleb ain't responding. He'll respond at 3:45, 4 a.m. to your text. Dude, LOL.
So many times
hilarious. At 4.
I'm like, I want to reach out because I'm up because it's a 3-hour difference. And I'll be like, it's 8:00 here. I'm like, oh, it's 5:00 there. He can't be up. And then all of a sudden I see him on Instagram already posting. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm always
sorry. I digress. Go right ahead.
I'll continue. But so it's LeBron's age. There's also the AD thing, right? Jokic is too much for AD to contend with down there because AD's style of play isn't like Jokic. Jokic is more down and dirty, elbow you down in the paint. AD's more finesse. So their styles kind of contrast, and the rest of the team isn't. And the D'Angelo Russell, he makes too much money, but he's overrated, right? Like he's not as good as $35 million would have you believe. No. You know what I'm saying? You see it when you see a guy like Austin Reeves, who's coming from the D League, I think, or definitely wasn't in the NBA, to now he's going to command $100 million salary next year, like a contract, because he's balling out consistently. So it's Hachimura, right? Mm-hmm. Like those guys are showing up. So I think they're being overwhelmed. The difference between Golden State and Denver is height. Mm-hmm. Everybody on that team, their starting 5 are all over 6'6", Except I don't think Murray is, but he's your guard. I'm talking about everybody else. Porter Jr., Caldwell Pope, Jokic, of course. Like, everybody's tall, and those guys can all shoot. Brown, all of them. So it's and they want it. They want to win. So the Lakers are just gonna. I don't see. I know they're not making it more than after tonight. And tonight is a wish and a prayer, because if Murray goes off again, it's a wrap. Like they can't do it, because they can't. Jokic is gonna get a triple double. That's just happening. You just pick the areas you want him to get his double in, because it's gonna happen. You know
he got a little bit of foul trouble last time, so they kind of shut him down a little bit last time. I can't see that happening 2 games in a row. What about you, Nige?
I just read it. Listen, I went online last night and I bought a Denver Nuggets hat. That's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that's where I'm at, because I realized I didn't have one in my collection. So I ended up finding a nice one, got it. So it should be here in 5 to 10 days. And that's where my allegiance is at. I want to say this, and then I'll say that. This is Jamal Murray. Shout out to the Canadian kid. Not only is he from Canada, but he is from a bordering town of mine. He's from Kitchener, Ontario. I'm from Cambridge. We all play basketball and football and all the sports in the same region. So Kitchener is only about a 10, 15-minute drive from Cambridge. So shout out to the local hero, man. And this kid, he is like, to watch him go ham, and as Caleeb said, they want it more, including him. And any one of them at any point in time, as we've just seen, will catch fire. We know that Jokic will be a consistent fire. And again, to Caleeb's point, it just depends on which kind of flame he wants to ignite, man. Does he want to do rebounds? Does he want to do assists? Watching them play, it's so gratifying, because you're watching a different style of ball. You're watching a team that is clean. They know where they want to be. They know what they want to do. And then when buckets start falling, they literally can throw it up from anywhere and it'll just go in. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it before in my life.
You know what's crazy? Even crazy. Real quick, if Patty, and I don't mean to cut you off, but just Pat, put it up real quick. The thing you just had up, the stats sheet. He had 24, 6, and 8. Now, in most cases, you say that's a really, really bad game for him, but that's still not a bad game for a center. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe you want a couple more rebounds, but still 24, 6, and 8. That's probably his worst game of the playoffs. And meanwhile, it's a half decent game for most centers in this league.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, you would want that. And I'm just real quick. I had no idea Murray was Canadian. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
the way he plays, you would think he's from Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying?
He plays with that edge. He plays with that dog. And I only know it because of Nigel. I thought the same thing. Nigel, I think, mentioned it once before.
I would have never guessed that he was Canadian. Ever.
Yeah. So I digress. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, it's all good. So just shortly, the short of the long is that this Denver team wants it that bad. And so if you now have, in my opinion, both the Boston and the Lakers are down 3. Only matter of time until we have a Nuggets Miami Heat final. This might be one of the finals for the ages, just because of both of these teams have so much fight in them and so much will to get to lift that Larry O'B, that this might be one of the better finals that we've ever seen, if it comes to fruition, that we've ever seen in the last X amount of years, just because of the actual sheer willpower and the storylines, man. This is great. You have a guy who could have won MVP, but he didn't on one team. And then you also have a play-in team that's crushed, dominated teams all the way up. Dude, you can't write that.
And let's face it, both those coaches are fantastic tactical coaches.
Totally.
Both teams play team basketball.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a different brand of basketball that we've seen in the finals in a long, long time. Because for the longest time, it was LeBron-led teams and Steph-led teams. Yeah, these are different kind of teams that we've seen. Not just because they are different, but even the style of play is so different. I think.
Yeah,
So
this is going to be interesting because Miami versus Denver going to Mile High.
Yes, that's a distance, crazy. Boy. That's a distance.
They both got a little bit of home cooking, because you're also going to have these Denver boys going to Miami, getting into some trouble in the clubs in Miami. So there's that there too. And you know what else? The only part that really listen, I love seeing Miami take it to Boston. I'm rooting for Miami over Boston. I don't really like either of the teams, but but that's the team I'm rooting for. I would have liked to see the Lakers beat Denver, but here's really where I'm really disappointed in is it just means we're that much closer to normal basketball this year. That's really what it comes down to. Like if this sweeps here, that means we're losing about a week's worth of basketball, really. So that's one of the things where I'm like, oh man, like I don't want it to be swept yet. I want to see it get to maybe a 6-game in both series, because I really want to see more basketball. So that's really where it's killing me a little bit. But we'll see what happens. I think if D'Angelo Russell does not start acting like he's supposed to act, like his contract says he's supposed to be, I think this might be it. I think
no, it isn't. It isn't. Like, no, he's done. Like there's no way. What's his name? What's his name? The guy that runs it, Nick. The
GM.
Yeah, Kobe's agent. Rob Pelinka. There's no way Rob is leaving. Is D'Angelo Russell is staying in LA after this? They gave him. You made $35 million, and when we needed you, you didn't show up. A guy named Austin Reeves did, and Hachimura. Really? Nah.
But it's Austin Reeves. I feel like every year we have these guys that get huge contracts based on a really good run that they have, and they never really, at that point, listen. D'Angelo Russell had a nice run a couple of years ago, got a big contract because of it. We always see these guys. Jordan Poole had a nice big run a year ago, got a nice contract out of it. I feel like could that be Austin Reeves be the next guy that has this really huge run and gets a nice contract over it, and then is never really to replicate it?
No, I disagree only because I think if he does get that big contract, if Reeves doesn't get that big contract, he's going to be fine and he's going to be consistent. The reason why I'm basing that off of Tyler Hero, because when Tyler Hero was in the bubble, that was his coming out party, right? And I had him in my fantasy league. I picked him up just off the waiver, and it was one of the best players I've ever had. The reason why I'm saying that is because now he is a consistent fixture on that team, and he is going to give you and going to give that Heat team everything they need from time. And he was in the same position as Reeves was, so I feel like I'm just going to give a shout out to Reeves. I think Reeves and Hachimura, the Lakers got to start just investing in those players that aren't the bigger names, man. They have to, because people are getting older and they're getting injured all the time. Shout out to Davis. So it's like you gotta start investing in other players and make this new Lakers team, if you will.
There was a lot of talk it was going to be Boston Celtics and the Lakers, and it was the fix was in.
I thought it was going to be two. I thought it was. To be honest, I really did.
And as it turns out, it's not. As a matter of fact, and to take it back to the Heat. Pat has a video of the Heat Celtics series. I want to show it real quick. Pat.
Please, Jimmy the Butler, no more. We're so full, we can't eat any more L's. But I haven't served you thirds yet. Have some mercy. Look what you did to Grant. I think he's dead. I think he's still hungry. Have some more, Grant. You love when Jimmy serves you L's. Yes. Oh, God. Looks like it's time for Jimmy the Butler to get the broom.
And that might be what happens tomorrow night, is he might be getting the broom. Caleeb, I was saying to Nigel before when you stepped away, the part that makes me so upset about not only being 3-0 and not having a competitive series is it's about a week's less worth of basketball that we're going to get for the rest of the season. The season's almost over, and so we're only about a week. Because these other games aren't going to be able to be played, we lose about a week's worth of basketball. That's the part that bothers me.
And you know what? You know what's really funny? Well, it's not funny, but like for the NBA, I know that our NBA commissioner, he's a little upset because the ratings aren't going to be as high.
No, probably not.
At all. Because the regular casual basketball fan is going to be like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're not going to be watching versus if it was LeBron and Tatum. You know what I mean?
And you know what it is? And that's the thing, too, is I feel like the casual fan, for whatever reason, I feel like the casual fan doesn't really keep up with the European players as much. I feel like as good as Jokic is, I feel like there's going to be a lot of casual fans that don't really understand how good he is. There's a lot. You're going to hear a lot of Jokic from the casual fan instead of Jokic. We all know his name is supposed to pronounce. I feel like a lot of the European players don't get the same type of reaction from the casual fans, and that's what you have with Denver. You have maybe the best player in the whole series is going to be a guy that I feel like not enough casual fans know about. People like us, we all know who Jokic is, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, but I think there's a casual fan out there that doesn't really get how good he is.
You know
Well,
what?
they don't like his game.
Well, they don't like his game.
The way he plays is boring. Like, it's not flashy. It's not, and he's not going to taunt you. He's not going to hit the three and shimmy like Steph and all that. You know what I mean? He's not in Subway commercials. And it's like, you gotta do that. And like the difference with Luka is, see, what people don't understand, understanding something or something that's easy to pronounce and say makes it easy. That's why everybody goes to acronyms, and that's why it's the King James, and like these things to ring in your mind. So you remember Nikola Jokic is not a name that like. It
doesn't roll off the tongue.
Luka, because they don't call him his full name is not Luka. It's probably Luka, something, way longer. But Luka works. And his game is close to American style. He's flashy, he's hitting the shot, and he's talking trash, right? So American audiences can get with that. Jokic doesn't do any of it. So
he's only tough against owners, team owners. He's little white guys in the crowd.
Yeah, so that's the difference. I think once he starts promoting himself more, like his team gets him in commercials and things like where he's more seen, then I think it could change. But Tim Duncan had the same thing. He was foreign. He's from the Bahamas, but not really. Didn't nobody really know that. But his game was boring. Like they called him Big Fundy, Big Fundamental, because it was backboard. This, that, like, and nobody liked it. And how he got his props was he was going against the Lakers every year, and it was Kobe and Shaq. So you got to see like how good this dude was because he was giving Shaq and Kobe problems, and his team beat them a couple of times. You know what I mean? So it made it like, okay, all right. So I think that has a lot to do with it. You know what I mean? Just the cross-cultural sort of.
That Tim Duncan bank shot, man, was like legendary.
Oh yeah,
my God,
and I think it is. I think it is that whole North America versus the world thing, and I really do think that it's how the NBA promotes the game, and that is by those dudes, those guys that came out of hoods, those guys that are lighting up the NCAA Division I or Division II with a certain style of game, versus how the Europeans play. If you want to get the best understanding, it's like what was the Netflix doc, the Dream Team? Was it on Netflix? Maybe not. But the streaming documentary about the Dream Team, or about the second coming of the Dream Team. What's that?
Was it a 30 for 30?
No, it wasn't. And it was with like Carmelo and like Kobe and those guys, because they ended up getting destroyed by European teams. Like they just couldn't put it together. And that is exactly where things changed. So we're talking like early 2000s, mid 2000s, that's where things changed, man, because the European game is so much different. It's so much more fundamental. Yeah. But then when that flash comes, it's so fast that you miss it because it just happens. But it works when it needs to work. They don't do it all the time. They're more efficient when it comes to just scoring and rebounding, and they understand that kind of game. But because the NBA doesn't really promote that, and that's not what the North American, aka American culture wants in their sports, you're not gonna see it. So in Serbia, I mean, the Joker Jokic, he's probably well known, to be honest with you.
He's Michael Jordan over there,
right? You know what I mean. But then he comes over here and he's not the same, just because it's not the same style that we're looking for, that we've seen. Right?
I also think it's like a point to be made with Caleeb kind of touched on a little bit, is I think if it's a harder name to say, it's harder to
easily.
I also think, listen, I think hockey, for that reason, also suffers from that. It's a lot harder to say a lot of these European names. I think hockey itself does suffer from that. I think if you had more American stars in hockey, you'd see that be a bigger fan base in the United States.
Well, but I'm going to stop you there only because the NHL has a big problem with just finding faces of the brand in general. The NHL doesn't have they just call it hockey. It's just hockey. And because of that, Gene, to your point, where you have so many different amazing players from all kinds of walks of our earth, and sure, pronunciation can be a little bit of a misstep, but they don't have a brand like the NBA does or like the NFL does, where we're seeing faces and names and we're seeing them. We know who they are.
That's a good point. The marketing is a little.
NHL's marketing is probably the worst out of all of the major sports, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would agree. Especially, because it's a shame because it really is a fun sport to watch, especially playoff time, where it's like you're like a lot of overtime games. You're on the pins, you're on the edge of your seat, pins and needles, because you don't know it really anybody could win. And even this postseason, I know we don't really touch on NHL, but even this postseason, teams that you thought there was a lot of upsets, a lot of exciting.
Yeah.
I think you have an 8 seed in the conference finals right now in the East. So teams that you expect to be places don't end up there. There's a lot of upsets. I think that adds to a lot of the fun of it.
But also, it's the end of May, and we're still playing hockey. What are we doing? Moving on. Like why are we so nice right now? Like the finals don't end up until June. Yeah, like what are we doing?
Season is way too long, But so all right. So we have that'll take. I guess like Denver. I don't know. I think if you ask me, I think Denver is going to maybe lose tonight. I think Lakers get one at home, but
it's their only shot to extend it is to win tonight.
I'm rooting happy just so we have more basketball.
We're going to see if Denver, they may have killer instinct and they may say, let's put them out, like go hard tonight.
I feel like Jamal Murray is that guy. He's got you see when he hits a big basket, he's hooting and hollering and good for him, right? Listen, I like Jamal Murray coming into this season. I knew he was a good player. I didn't realize how good he was until this postseason. I don't know if it's I missed out on it, or if he's grown that much in this postseason.
Well, he's grown a lot only because don't forget we missed him last season because of his injury, right?
Right.
So he was coming. He was coming. He was coming for all y'all, but because of that injury, it really set everything back for him and the squad. But now it's like as he's obviously healed up, and we're seeing his coming out party, and I'm very hopeful that he's here to stay.
Ontario, stand up, right, Nigel?
You know what I'm saying?
There you go. All right. So, we don't really cover baseball, but just going to go over some of the scores real quick before we get into some more headlines. Yankees 4-1 over the Reds. Cubs lose to the Phillies 2-1. Mariners lose to the Braves 3-2. Diamondbacks over the Pirates 8-3. Orioles over the Blue Jays. Sorry, Nigel.
Oh, got swept.
Yeah. They've hit a little bit of rough streak because the Yankees took it 2-2. The Yankees took 3-4.
Yeah.
Brewers 6, Rays 4. Mets 4, Guardians. Mets 5, Guardians 4. Stros shut out the Athletics 2-0. Cardinals double up the Dodgers 10-5. Rangers wallop the Rockies 13-3. Giants over the Marlins 7-5. Angels over the Twins 4-2. And then in Game 2 of the Mets Guardians, Mets win 2-1, and the Padres blank the Red Sox 7-0. So there's your baseball stats. We'll talk a little bit of baseball on Wednesday. We're going to talk a little bit about which first place teams are legit. So we're going to actually get into a little baseball talk on Wednesday. But you know what we didn't do yet? Nigel, that hat.
Yeah.
My man.
Thank you, sir. So you know what? Listen, you got to shop local. So this hat here, this is LL. So this guy, his name's Brian Esperatu. He's a local dude from Toronto. He had this really amazing brand that's since changed into, I can't remember what the number, something Camden, but Camden Street. If you look up like LL or like, I should know this because I'm pushing his product. But he has since like stopped the retail game once the pandemic hit. But he has some really, really nice stuff on the site. So you got that nice like LL. And this is a brown and like this is actually a nice beige kind of colorway. Again, New Era flag, this nice beige. And he's got this nice little thick red flag on there, man. That's one of my favorite hats. So his stuff is amazing. I'll make sure to check in on the name and get back to you later. But I want to keep it local. And the reason why I'm wearing this brown one is because this is the closest I came. I do have one other hat, but this is the closest I came to wearing brown. Shout out to our man that passed away from the Cleveland Browns very recently that we will talk about. But I wanted to wear a little something for Mr. Jim Brown. So
Jim Brown passed away. Rest in peace. Rest in power, man. He did so much besides just on the field, so much off the field as an activist, as an actor. Going to be sorely missed on the planet for more than just what he did on the field. So shout out, to rest in peace to him and prayers to his family. Let's talk a little bit of football headlines. Jim Brown, obviously, we just mentioned, passed away at the age of 87. So let's get on right over to the next one. Eagles open to an extension with running back DeAndre Swift. This is your hometown. Well, not hometown, but your neck of the woods.
My favorite team.
Let me ask you a question. Do you get him signed to an extension before the season, wrap him up nice and get it done with now, or do you wait and see what does he got left this season and then maybe do it after the season? What do you do if you're the GM?
Well, that's an interesting question because I'm sure the reason why they're open to the extension is because they're betting he's going to do good, and they know you could pay him $5 million today or $10 million tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that is, right? Like, and I think honestly, if the Eagles, like, they might as well. He's young, he's really talented. He's like, sign him up, like get him, so that way at least you know he's locked in. He's here with another two. They do the 3 running back system. They really have 4 because Jalen is a running back as well. So it's like, I think it's not a dumb thing to do. You know what I mean? And what I also think what it will do is it will really lock Swift in, because now he feels like not only did you guys come and get me, but you extended me and I haven't even played. Like, you really invested in me. Like, he's going to want to perform for you. You know what I mean? Well, at least I feel like I would. If somebody did that with me, I would want, like, I feel like I owe them now. Like, now I got to show why I'm of that value. And he strikes me as a player like that, because I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Just the fact that the Lions let him go. Like, players don't like being traded. You know what I mean? Because
especially when it's to cover up for younger talent. Like, you drafted my replacement, and I'm still here.
So he wants to show. So I think it's a smart move by the Eagles to do that. So, you know, I mean, but in football, everybody's one injury away from it's the dumbest contract you ever made. So, you know what I mean? We shall see. But I think there's nothing wrong with having somebody that really wants to be there and wants to show you that they're of value. So I would
Nigel, what about you? You sign him up now, get that something out of the way. Do you expect him to have a big year in Philly?
Yeah, yes, 100%. I echo Caleb's thoughts, man. Like, this guy, again, one of the dudes on my fantasy team, and he showed out. Like, he did a great job this year when you needed him. I mean, I think this Philly squad is, I mean, they were dangerous last year, obviously. Like, we saw it in the Super Bowl, and they were a couple steps away, a couple plays away from winning the Super Bowl, literally and figuratively. But I don't need to get into the minutia of it. But next year, they've only gotten better now with adding Swift. Yeah, man, pay the man. Just pay him, because you know what he's going to do. Everybody's going to be excited he's there. Again, he's homegrown, right, from Philly, so make it happen, man. Yeah.
Is he a Philly guy?
He's from Philly, yeah.
I didn't know that. Did you know that, Caleb?
No, but that's even better.
Yeah.
That's more so why you pay him.
Exactly.
Hometown kid comes home, yeah. And then we got Jadeveon Clowney interested in a reunion with the Texans. I love this idea of the Texans bringing him back. He still has a little bit of gas left that tank, and you got a young team, a young impressionable team that you're trying to get motivated to learn how to be a pro. You know, everyone always talks about like just the development as far as on the field, but there's a lot of off the field stuff. Players need to have. You need to learn how to be a pro too, and that helps on the field. I think Jadeveon Clowney can help in a myriad of ways. Nigel, what's your thought? Good idea for the Houston Texans to bring him back?
I love watching this guy play, man. And I feel like if he makes the move, if Clowney makes the move back to Houston, good things are trying to happen in Houston. That just means that he's going to be the start of the turnaround of this franchise, especially after the brutal year that they had last year, the tumultuous year they had last year, in and off the field. On and off the field. I think this would be a step in the right direction. He's familiar with the stadium. He's familiar with the staff. I'm sure that's some of the staff, at least, that's still there. I think this would be a great move for them, and I think it would put them back on the road to being division title contenders, maybe. But I mean, listen, I reserve a little bit of hope there. But at least, again, my main point is that have him back in the franchise, that'd be huge for the franchise.
What's your take on it, Caleb?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great for him, and I think he will be a hell of an addition, because him coming off that edge with that speed is difficult to contend. And don't forget, the Texans picked up that middle linebacker from Georgia. What's his name? I'm blanking on his name, but you know what I'm talking about. He's superb in pass rushing. So now you got to worry about him coming from here, Clowney coming from here. It's like it's going to.
And the kid they picked number 2 overall from Alabama too.
Right. So Alabama. So it's going to take so much, like for an offensive line to defend that pass rush. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they're not the only people that are going to be fast on the team and that can do something. And DeMeco Ryans is a defensive coach. Yeah. So that's his specialty. And he used to be a linebacker. Like, the Texans, like, I think that's a genius pickup to bring Clowney in. And he's a veteran. So he'll be able to help mentor. Man, Listen.
And he was a fan favorite when he was there too. I say, you know what? I say you bring back J.J. Watt, Andre Johnson, and Matt Schaub too. Let's go all in on former Texans. No, I do. All kidding aside, though, I do love this this pickup. I think it's going to pay dividends more than just on the field. I think it's going to pay dividends off the field as well. Trying to develop some of this young talent on defense. He can help be a mouthpiece for D'Amico Ryans to the young kids. I think it's great all around. And again, I think Texans can be one of these teams that turns around really quick. I'm not saying playoff next year, but I don't think it's a 5-year process.
They're in the AFC South. I don't see how playoffs could not be next year. You don't even have to have a winning record in the NFL to make it to the playoffs.
It's a good point. It's a good point. But
last year was crazy for that. Last season was crazy.
But I'm not sold that the Indianapolis won't be good. Tennessee's not completely out of it yet. We don't really, they could still have a hard time. Plus, let's face it, they got Jacksonville there. Jacksonville's got a hell of a squad coming this year.
Yeah.
I do think they are going to be a force to be reckoned with by year 3, though. Maybe one more year of high draft picks, and then I feel like that's the team that your team's going to have to worry about is the Texans. All right, so on to the next one. Patriots hired their first ever female scout. Congratulations to Anna Callender for breaking that barrier for New England, which is they're a garbage organization anyway. True or false?
True.
We all hate the Patriots. But congratulations, Anna Callender. Anything to add on that, guys?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing. But the reason why I throw a butt in there is because I want to be able to watch sports and male-dominated sports from here on in, and not be like, oh, there's a woman on the field. Like, oh, there's a female officiator. I'm tired of doing that. I really just think.
Well, I think you have to get through this for it to become second nature.
No, I understand that. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I love this process in all sports. We have female referees, female linemen. In soccer, we've got it happening. And I'm like, this is fantastic. Let's just have the best person for the job, regardless of gender. Let's just put them on the field. And I think having a female scout, yeah, amazing, man. I mean, they're part of the team too, right? Like, if anybody watched Last Chance U, one of my favorite docs of all time, that's on Netflix. We have no affiliation in Netflix, so I'm not trying to make any money, but Netflix do want to pay me, great. But like Last Chance U, in their first 2 seasons, we had a guidance counselor who's trying to help these boys out, and her job was not only to be a guidance counselor, but it was also to be a friend and to help them as a mentor. And I feel like having that female influence, because a lot of these gentlemen didn't have mothers in their lives that were either close to them or didn't have somebody that could guide them and nurture them. And so I know this is a different beast, like recruiting and whatnot, but I still think it's a great position, a position of great power and authority and best person for the job. So y'all need Patriots need all the help they can get. I don't care who it's from. They need something.
I've always said, I don't care if you're a goddamn kangaroo. If you can help me in the draft by scouting, I don't care if you're a coach. You're GM. I don't care what you are, who you are, anything. I need to win a championship. I have yet to see one in my lifetime in football. So I don't care what species, sex, race. I want to win. I want to win. But again, I think to your point, Nigel, I think the way we get from here to there is by you're right, by making these hires, right? Mm-hmm. And not only that, there's nothing worse. I just don't want to see an exploitive hire. Don't, because by doing that, it can actually set women. If she gets in there, and the Patriots did, I don't think the Patriots did it for this reason. Bill Belichick is too smart to hire somebody for that reason. But if she gets in there and she's bad, she sets women back a little bit. So you want to be that they hire the right people for the right positions. Caleeb, your take on the female hiring for the Patriots?
I agree wholeheartedly with you both. I agree with Nigel. It's like, to me, I just want the best person for the job. You know what I mean? And because to me, I don't care, and not in a disrespect, like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, no, I don't care. It's whoever's the best. I trust Bill Belichick is going to hire the best people for those positions. Yep. If you're making hires simply because somebody is a woman, simply because somebody is a man, simply because somebody is African-American, Caucasian, Asian, Latin, whatever, that's an issue. And if you don't agree or believe me, think of it like this. Your house is on fire and you call the fire department. Are you going to ask, wait a minute, before you guys come put this fire out, do you have any queers on your staff? Is anybody is anybody bi? Is anybody a woman? Is anybody, you don't care what ethnicity, you don't care sexual orientation. You just want your fire out and you want the best people there to save your life. That's it.
Yep.
Nobody's asking, wait a minute, the police, come help me, they shooting. Wait a minute. Is anybody, you know what I mean? Like,
you're 100% right.
You guys are the inclusive department. It's dumb. I'm tired of it. I agree with Nigel. It's like whoever's the best for the job should get the job, and it shouldn't matter what ethnicity, what sex, what sexual orientation. They're there for a reason, because of who they are, not because of what they are. You know what I mean? So that's all I got to say about that.
I'll tell you what, and it almost kind of twisted to another way around. Like, I look at some of the stuff that the leagues have missed out on by being so late to the party in certain aspects. Like right now, it's women in coaching, right? If like Becky Hammon, I know she's dealing with a little bit of a hard time right now in Vegas with some of the stuff going on now, but she's a hell of a coach. Almost coached men's teams, actually interviewed for men's teams. You hate to see what leagues could miss out on by not hiring people for dumb reasons. Look at Warren Moon. The NFL missed out on a great quarterback for half his career, because half his career he had to go play in Canada because they wouldn't let him play quarterback in the NFL. Warren Moon, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, they didn't allow to play quarterback. They weren't going to let him play quarterback in the NFL. Could you imagine if you would have said, all right, well, I just want to play in the NFL. I'll go and I'll be a corner. He might have been a great corner. Who knows? He might have been a great safety. Who knows? But could you imagine if we never would have got to see Warren Moon as a quarterback? And that almost happened. And it did happen for half his career. Could you imagine if he would have played his whole career in the NFL as a quarterback? Well,
right.
He might have actually broken a lot of these records that are there now. So it's I don't want to see leagues miss out on great opportunities because of stubbornness. And if it means hiring a woman as a coach or hiring a woman as a scout because they're really good at it, you don't miss out on something. Don't spitefully hurt yourself you know what I mean? Like, there's some teams that probably look back and listen, the Houston Oilers were the first in the party when they brought him back to the NFL. Whoever could have picked him in the league, I'm sure didn't pick anyone nearly as good as Warren Moon. I don't know who got drafted that year. I don't remember what year the draft was that he came out, but I guarantee there's some people that said, oh man, we could have gotten him in the beginning of his career. We really screwed up. I'm sure there's some people that thought that had they not been stubborn and nearsighted. So this is great for the future of coaching and not I would just say women in coaching. I mean coaching in general.
Yeah, but there's the thing that's
scouting,
interesting is the way that our society has reacted to different situations. So what I mean by that is, like, it's hard to hire a female head coach for a male team, whether it's basketball or football. Not that she don't know what she's talking about. It's simply locker room.
Yeah, I get it. I agree.
Well, wait a minute. Players are not going to be like, wait a minute, I got to put a towel on because coach in here? Really? Then get a man so I don't have to worry about this. We talk about the damn game, right? Like, you think about that. Football, you saw Any Given Sunday. Cameron Diaz walked in
just
there.
Walking
That's
in,
the point of the scene. Like, it's a woman in the male locker room after the game, and they are all naked, walking around, doing like it's that kind of environment. There could be players that are uncomfortable because they're like, I don't want to get in trouble for you know what I mean? Like, listen,
it's something to worry about. I get that.
And the same thing for men. I'm sure Gino, what's his name?
Oriema.
I can't pronounce his last name.
Oriema. Gino Oriema.
Oriema. I'm sure he's not in the locker room. He waits 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like there's things, because you just it's crazy. So
I agree. But as a fan, if someone said
stuff has to be worked out.
But as a fan, you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan. If someone came to you and said, "Listen, Sirianni's not the right guy for it," but Jane Smith is a phenomenal coach, someone that's worked in coaches, and she can win you. And this girl's gonna win me a Super Bowl. You would take her.
Yes. Right? Without question. And
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Is getting used to it as players.
Worried. I'm talking about potential issues that could happen that you don't hear about when it's male with male in locker rooms, women with women in locker rooms. It's one of the reasons why women weren't allowed to be reporters after games, because they would access to the locker room. The men could walk in, the women could not. So they were complaining that they weren't getting like the story in time because their male counterparts could enter. So when they started going in, the male players, not all of them, but some of them were pricks and would do things to make the women uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Favre didn't even take for Brett Favre just took a text. It didn't even take Brett Favre. Was, if you remember correctly, Brett Favre was texting some dick pics. He didn't have to go.
He's actually doing something on purpose. I'm talking about just natural, regular
I get what you're saying, though.
flow of something. That's it. So that's what the bump is with a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? Scouting is nothing. Like, you're picking talent. You could do that from your iPhone. You know what I mean? In traveling, the head coach is the thing. That's a different thing that I think is absolutely on its way to be changed, and I think it should. But there's certain issues that I know are probably sticking points as to why it hasn't happened as quickly.
I agree. I can see what you're saying with that. So, all right. So let's move on to the last NFL topic for today, and then we'll move back over to the NBA. Latest on Seahawks Jamal Adams. There's talk that he might be on his way out. Pete Carroll said he's not. But let me ask you a question. He signs that 4-year, $72 million deal. Still got 3 years. Hasn't done much. Put it back 1 second, Patty. I'm sorry. Played in 1 game for Seattle last year. 12 twice the 2 prior years. They have Julian Love and Quandre Diggs there. Is this a spot where you say maybe it's time to move on from him in that contract if you can move that contract, or do you say let's go to battle with Jamal Adams?
I'm gonna just say this, and I'll let Nigel jump in. Pete Carroll always tells the truth, even when he's lying. Pete Carroll said 2 seasons ago, "What are you talking about? Russell's our guy. I love Russ. He's not going nowhere." Week later, Russell traded to Denver, right? When he said, "Oh, Jamal's our guy," that means he's gone. That's how Pete tells you what's going on.
Yep. Listen, they signed Quandre. They signed Julian Love this year in the offseason for a reason.
Yeah, Jamal's gone. He's done. His time in Seattle's over. He's out.
Now, is his time in the league, like, obviously he'll find a home somewhere. Is he still a quality player, Nigel?
He's fine. I mean, honestly,
he's not who he was, though. Is it?
No. He's not gonna change the tide of the game for you. Like, he's not gonna. I don't think he's that much of a momentum changer anymore. But he's fine, man. I don't know. I just have a hard time with commenting on Seattle right now, only because they're not as relevant. They, for some reason, keep being in the news or sports news, but they're not. They're not, again, we've mentioned this time and time again, they're not the Legion of Boom anymore. They're not the team that they used to be. They're rebuilding. They're trying to figure things out. They have one of the best fan bases in the NFL, sure. But I don't think Jamal Adams is going to be there anymore. 2, they're rebuilding. Let them rebuild.
Do you think Jamal Adams is still a quality safety to go, Caleb? Can he go someplace and still be an all-pro?
I think he can absolutely help. I think he's good. I don't know how his health is, because in football, health is everything.
Yep.
So let's just say he's 100% healthy. I don't think he can be what he once was, but he absolutely could help a team in a lot of ways, because he's a genius mind. But as far as physically performing, I don't know. I wouldn't bet that he would, but he could. But he's more to me like a Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson is not who he used to be as a corner. He is no longer that, but he still contributes in ways as to why he still has a job in Minnesota.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind seeing him come back to the Jets. You know what? We could use a little extra. We could use a little depth at safety. Listen, we'd have to have Seattle would have to eat some of this money because we couldn't afford him. We still got to pay Quinn, and we wouldn't be able to afford him. So,
but how much is guaranteed though? Because NFL contracts ain't baseball or NBA.
No, that's true. That's true. But I still think there's a significant amount that's
because Seahawks could cut him, not pay him nothing, and then the Jets could pick him up. Like, that's how the NFL is. It's tragic.
I'd be surprised if he gets cut with still 3 years left on his deal. I know there's got to be some more guaranteed money in there probably with 3 years left. I would think they probably don't cut him until after this year if that's the case. But again, if I could get him back on the Jets, and I think we're a safety short on defense. Like, safety was one of the spots that I wanted to draft. So I think if you could bring him in at a relatively cheap price, especially if you already got some guaranteed money just to go away, maybe he doesn't look for as big of a contract, and you can bring him in. Hey, listen, Jamal, you're coming into a winning situation.
Be able to get a big contract. You saw what happened with Zeke.
Exactly.
Signed 4 year, including 20 million signing bonus, 38. Oh, geez, 38 guaranteed.
So in 2023, he's gonna make 11 million. We couldn't even afford that if we wanted to. So we would need some of that to be eaten. So
Seattle's done. Like they're done. That's why.
Is that an immovable contract?
He's staying.
So, but I'm saying that's an immovable contract at that point.
Yeah.
Good job, Patty, on that. So, all right. Well, you know what? That's going to do it for the NFL news. We're going to come back with some NBA news. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to talk some NBA. All right. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Craving your favorite theme park treats right from the comfort of your home? Introducing MainStreetTreat.com. We bring your favorite treats right to your doorstep. Visit MainStreetTreat.com today and go ahead, treat yourself.
Happiness is addictive. Passionate about spreading laughter and creating smiles worldwide. Happiness is addictive. Brings our global community together through humor, optimism, cheer, hopefulness, and merriment. Happiness is addictive. Happiness is addictive.
My headphones aren't in yet. All right, we're back. You gonna bring Nigel and Patty, or you gonna let him just sit there at the door? Jeez Louise, Patty. Jeez Louise. All right, so we're back. Well, let's go back into some NBA news, man.
Before we do that, if you don't mind. So my brain, super dumb. Back to the hat real quick. It's called Legends League. And I knew that, but for some reason I was caught up in a different name for something else. LL, obviously, Legends League. So if you Google Legends League, look it up. It'll take you to a site that's called BBE, which is his new site. He's rebranded. And so he's doing some stuff over there. So if you look up his site, Brandon Spratu, BBE.design. And he's got some new swag there that's completely different from his old brand, which was Legends League. So yeah, man, just wanted to make sure I got that correct because again, support local if you're listening and you're in Toronto or in Canada. Yeah.
Go ahead and support your local hat guys. There you go.
Thanks, bro.
There you go. All right, so let's bring up our NBA headlines. All right, so we're gonna go to 3. Who should the Hornets draft with number 2 overall pick, or should they even draft? Should they trade down? They missed out on Wemby. Is this a spot for the Hornets to trade back, or should they make a pick? And if they do make a pick, who do you say it should be? Nigel.
This is a great. At first, when I read the headline, I wasn't sure how invested I'd be in this question or in this article, and then I did a little bit of research. I was like, I kind of am. Now, I say that with the caveat that I don't really care about their well-being as a team. Not like I hope everybody stays healthy, but I mean, I don't really care about the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, I'm just gonna put that up there. But I do love the brand. I really love the affiliation with our boy Michael Jordan. But this is interesting because they have a chance to get a really good guard to get like Scoot, or to get like who's that other guy?
The swing.
Brendan Miller.
Yep.
So they have a really good opportunity to get that. And now what the challenge is though is like LaMelo Ball, right? Because you already have a pretty decent guard. You have Bo Knight, so you have a couple pieces in there that are already fixtures with a squad. So the guys that you pick up, they could be so the guy that you draft could replace one of these guys, or is he going to get playing time? So it's really interesting what they could do. I mean, they need a whole bunch of pieces to help this squad out. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, I think they really should go with that swing or that wing, I guess, the Alabama kid, Brandon Miller, because he's more of an all-around person that they could use, an all-around baller that they could use faster than getting Scoot, because Scoot is more in the ball area.
Mm-hmm.
So so I would go with Brandon Miller there. I don't think they'll trade down, because I think they're not in a hurry up and wait. They're not in like a situation where they're in a hurry up and wait kind of situation. They don't need to get a championship. They know they're not going to make a run now, and I think other teams do. So I think they'll just kind of go with the best next person that fits their system. Period.
I agree. I think they go best available, and or to an extent, like again, I don't think they go Scoot Henderson either. I think they go Brandon Miller. I think Brandon Miller is actually a tremendous fit for what they need. He makes them that much better. I think he's going to be a tremendous pro. Is he going to be Wemby? No, but I think he's going to be a really good pro, possible future All-Star. And you need to start getting some pieces to put with LaMelo Ball. He's a guy that you could put as a piece. And you know what? Listen, let's call it what it is. Charlotte, you're going to be drafting in the lottery next year, maybe even the year after that. But hold on to LaMelo Ball, because he's an absolute stud. He's a star. Brandon Miller could be a potential All-Star for you. And just start putting together the best pieces you can through the draft for the next few years. I would not trade back either. Caleb, what do you do? Do you trade back, or do you draft one of these two young guys?
Well, it just really depends on what the overall plan is, right? And what I mean is, you're seeing Miami is about to go to the finals with a rec team, right, with one star. So you can see what you can do with a team, like when they're together. So one big Brandon Miller pick might be worth 3. You might be able to get a Hachimura Reeves and a Strauss on your team. That can be overall more valuable. So I think it's going to be strategy. But I agree with Nigel. I think Brandon Miller is the perfect addition because of all the things he can do. He allows Melo to still be Melo and do what LaMelo does, which is great, but be a hell of an addition for him and another 1-2 punch. Because I think LaMelo is dope. Like, I really do. Like, I think he's really good, but he needs that other guy, superstar type guy that can take a lot of weight. Not take weight, but take weight. I'm talking when you're on the bench, he can go for 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. So I would take the Brandon Miller. I would take the shot and get a Brandon Miller and pair him with Melo and then start building around them. Because now you can start making, interleague trades and all of that to build the rest out. But I think Brandon Miller is a superstar talent. I don't know if he'll be a superstar in the league, but he seems, all the buttons say that he will. He just got to make better choices, like don't bring guns to your boys because you don't know what they're going to do with them. But outside of that, I would say that he's a great pick. If he's the type of boy that'll bring you a gun when you need one, that's who you want rolling with you. But that's it. I digress.
But and you're right. I'll be honest. I don't think he's a bad kid. I think he just made I'm going to chalk it up to he made a bad mistake. I don't think he's a bad kid. Because everything else you hear about him, that he's not the troublemaker that it seemed like he might have been with that incident. So I would go Brandon Miller. Now, if I was in this spot and the top 3 guys were guards and it was a big drop off to the next good forward that was there, then I would probably say maybe trade the pick. Brandon Miller, it could be a potential all-star talent. So I bring him in. Now, if next year we get in there and there's I need to add that shooting guard or that big man. And there's not anybody for a few picks down, then maybe I might trade next year. But this year, with this pick, I think Brandon Miller has got to be the guy you go with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you just fill out snipers. You go get snipers because that's what the league is coming down to.
That's what Miami is. Miami's a bunch of snipers.
Yep.
So, all right. So on to the next we got coming up. G League or college basketball? This is more of a debatable kind of topic, guys. You see a lot of – this is a year we're getting to see a lot of people – there we go with the graphic by Patty. We've seen a lot of guys coming out of the G League this year. Scoot Henderson, one of them. If it was you, or if you were someone advising a young child, not child because he's a young man, would you say hit the G League, or would you say go to college for the year? Because a lot of these guys, let's face it, if you're a quality of a G League player, you're a one and done college player. Where would you say go, Caleb?
Okay, the thing is this. If you go to the G League, you get better competition. You're playing against men. You're playing against NBA players. It's all of that, right? The college gets you the notoriety. it gets you famous. It gets you out there because you get more looks because you get March Madness, which might be the most watched sports tournament outside of the World Cup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you really think about it. So with that being said, you can really change your trajectory in the league with a phenomenal March Madness showing. Outside of that, the G League it's better for your development as a player because in college, you're still only playing against young men your age. In the G League, you could be playing against somebody that was in the NBA last year. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're just on a G team. So now you know what I mean? So like the level is up. And because of the success of players that have come from the G League, there's going to be more eyes on it, which now makes the competition go up. Jordan Poole was in the G League 3 or 4 seasons ago. You know what I mean? Like that's where he was. Now you see he's got $130 or something million contract, and he ain't even really that good. But you could get the bag, right? Yep. So the G League is now more. The competition is only gonna get stiffer, I agree with the old adage, iron sharpens iron. Therefore, I think the G League is better for your development. Like if I was Bronny James, like he's going to go to USC and get all the stuff because he's who he is. He has a name. He's coming from basketball royalty with his father and all that. So his path is different. But somebody else whose dad isn't that, like if you were Scottie Pippen's son, you should go to the G League because you're going to really develop your skills and you'll be ready to show up and show out. You know what I mean? Over those kids that are going to college, taking the NIL money.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is the money isn't the thing anymore because now you got the NIL money. Nigel, what would you advise?
I'm going to agree with literally everything that Caleeb said. I'm going to see if I can take a little bit of a curve here, if I can just swerve a little bit. And that swerve is you go to college for the education. Yes. Yes.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
They there. I thought it was playing sport.
Hey man, I'm saying that strictly for family that are listening. That like, okay, he also played varsity sports, but he got an education. You got to get an education, but then you play a varsity sport, and you're very good at that varsity sport. So I think where I'm coming from is the idea that you're going to need to lean back on something. I'm going into the future. You need to lean on something. So if you start something, at least know that you can finish it at some point in your career, wherever it takes you. If it takes you to G League and you're a G League lifer, fine. Or if you do make it to the league, that's great. To the NBA, that's great. But also, when you go from the jump from NCAA to NBA, the fall can be so fast and so dramatic if you are not within the first couple rounds and you are getting the love and the tutelage from not only your fellow players, but the coaching staff. The fall can be dramatic. And we've seen some really amazing college players, historically amazing college players, go to the NBA and barely make a season happen, and then they're gone. The reason why I bring that up is because at least with the G League, you have an opportunity to not make a bag, but you have an opportunity to play, again, to Caleeb's point, at the highest level, at that level, and you can sustain that. You can get better, and you can do the things that you need to ball out. It's a league that people still watch, especially because it's in a lot of smaller markets, or if it is in a bigger market, those fans will trickle down because they'll want to see who's next. So at least you have that. And I think that is really something that should be cherished, and it's a privilege to play there before you can make it, if you can't even make it to the league. And if you don't, that's fine, because you're still doing the thing that you wanted to do. But again, from college to pro, if you don't make it, the drop can be harsh where you're not even playing ball at all anymore. So I don't know if I'm really making a point for one case or the other. I think they're very different. But I will say this, for me personally, I wish that I had more exposure to the G League. Now, we do have Raptors 905 up here. I don't see them much, and there's no reason why I can't. The arena is just down the road. It's literally like a 20-minute walk for me. So I should expose myself more to them, and I think this summer I will.
You shouldn't expose yourself to anybody, Nigel. You can get arrested for that. I wouldn't
not up here. Not up here, baby. It's Canada. We're good.
My bad. What was I thinking?
But yeah, I want to watch more G League stuff. You know what I mean? So maybe I'll check out a couple more games this season. But I mean that's where I stand on. So I'm kind of both, but I just feel the fall is just so much harsher from NCAA if you're not ready.
I agree with you guys. And Caleeb used the term iron sharpening iron. I actually had that same thing in my notes, that same expression, because I look at it this way. I think it's one of the things that's helped the young European players that have come over here, that they're playing against grown men. You look at what Luka was like 15, 16 years old playing against grown men. Wemby is 18 years old playing against grown men. They're playing in these professional leagues. I think that's one of the reasons why
he needs to start drinking some milk.
Well, yeah, he needs to, before he gets to San Antonio, he needs to take a quick stop in New Orleans and go hang out with Zion for a little bit. And Zion can show him all the good places to eat, maybe get some beignets or whatever, puts that weight up. But these are guys that have played with grown men. And I think one of the reasons why I say G League is probably the best place to go for a lot of these young kids is just what you guys said. Iron sharpens iron. And the same reason why it's been such a beneficial spot for these European teams or players that are playing against grown men in the European leagues. Same reason why here with the G League. You got guys that aren't just grown men, but are hungry to get back to the NBA. They're hungry to get back to the main teams. So they don't want to they don't want this young kid to come in there and take any shine from them. They're not, in college, it's one of these things where they're all right, one and done. They're all a bunch of one and dones for the most part.
Yeah, now
all the major players are all pretty much usually one and dones. So they're really worried more about. I think generally you see them in college more about not getting hurt, being able to get into the next level. But when you're against these other G Leaguers, they're trying to make it back into the NBA. They don't want to be in the G League anymore. They're trying to make it back in the NBA. So they're playing tough and they're playing like grown men. So it's a little bit of a different animal. And I think if your goal is to be in the NBA, listen. And my thing is this: NCAA basketball has not been the same since players started going right from high school to college. I remember the days, and we're all old enough, I'm sure, to remember the days where even the really good players used to stay for 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like the days when like Duke and North Carolina would have juniors and seniors, and you could build those rivalries. Those days are done. They're never coming back, unfortunately. So my thing is, if they are going to be done, I'm okay with the G League getting some more of these younger stars. And it makes the G League more fun to watch because could you imagine how big it could be for the G League if Bronny decided to go play in the G League instead? He's going to USC. Listen, USC is going to get a lot of games on TV now because of it. But could you imagine if he decided, hey, you know what, I want to go play for the G League? The G League would be kicked up a notch. Like you'd start seeing the ratings going way up on that. So I think if you could move some of these younger players to the G League, it helps the G League become more affordable as far as being able to be run because they're going to start being able to bring in their own television rights, their own ticket sales will go up because you got the next stars already in the G League. And let's face it, in the NCAA, we're not going to get the kids doing 2 years, 3 years anymore, 4 years. So it's kind of like that. That's kind of gone. We've passed that time. If you could promise me, hey, we can get back to where the big players want to stay for 3 years, I'd be all in. I'd say, okay, let's do that then, because I miss those days. I miss where you could have a rivalry for 3 years plus because these teams are just stacked the way they are. We're never going to get that back, though.
Well, and the NIL. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the NIL might make that happen because dudes were leaving because they needed money. But they said like Bronny is going to make $5 million off the NIL alone. Not that he needs it. He has a trust fund. But a kid from but a broke kid from wherever did $5 million like immediately. And then you may. And then now because you're not needing money, you may say, okay, it might be better if I stay here for 2 or 3 years. That I'll make 10 to 15 million, so my family will be straight. But I can develop my game more. Like I can get, you know what I mean? I can put more weight on. I can, it's like it allows for that. You know what I mean? Because it's not such a rush. I have to get to the league. My mama's gonna get kicked out next week. Like I need this money.
And
to make $5 million.
It's real, so I get that. I don't know what are the G League salaries like? Does anybody know?
I don't know. It's probably Dick and Donuts.
If you can look it up, what the average G League salary is,
it's probably Dick and Donuts.
I'm sure it's nothing compared to the NIL money. Well,
no,
and it shouldn't be because the way the NCAA profits off these kids. I mean, that's a whole other topic for another day. With the NCAA is how bad of an organization is, the way they really eat off these kids and really exploit these kids. We could do a whole 2-hour episode about that.
I will say this last thing though too. well, I guess this is me more leaning a little bit more towards the G League. You can, you might have mentioned it, Gene, but you can dip into that pool. If you're a franchise in the NBA, you can dip it. Oh, minimum is $40,000 a year, roughly $8,000 a month. Wow,
You gotta be shitting me, Pyle.
That's
no.
You could just get a regular 9-to-5 job. You just get
ain't nobody going to the G League. Like now I see why they balling. They're angry.
Yeah. So they are angry. Yeah. So sorry. What I was gonna say is that you can dip in if you're a franchise and you have a team, which I think most of them do. You can dip in. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because the 2019 Raptors champions. You know how many of those guys came from the championship winning 905? There's at least 4 of them. I'll name some: Freddie VanVleet, Pascal Siakam. Who else is that? Malachi Flynn has recently just come from that program. Norman Powell, who's no longer with us. He's in life, but he's
not dead. He's not dead.
He's not dead. He's just not with us. The Raptors. But and I said Spicy P, Pascal Siakam. I mean, so you have these players that if you invest, if you have a great program at that level, I mean, then they're coming up and they're giving you so much talent from playing with other men that are hungry because they're literally hungry, making $40,000 a year.
Well, listen, if you're trying to get into the league, right, and you're out of college age now at this point, say you're out of college, you've done 3 years in college, now you're out. I'd rather make $40,000 in the G League and have a shot, and also some minimums. You could actually make more than that, but I'd rather that than just have no shot and be done. So the G League is still good, and I would take that if need be. Listen, is it you or you can make the same amount of money working at Best Buy, right? So at least you have the ability to still have a shot back at getting back into the league. But I agree. I didn't know it was that low. The NIL money does make that.
What?
If you're a good enough player, you're going to go to the college. You're going to go to the college.
You don't even have to be good and get $250,000 from the NIL. Like at what they can do with, just your name and likeness. I mean, Bronny James ain't done anything. It's solely just because he's LeBron's son. He's getting $5 million in NIL. Like, you see what I mean? Like that popularity from that. So and that's like a high end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's the NIL money I think will change things. But the G League to me is helpful because it's men. It's men you're playing against, and they're making $40,000.
You're going to be a better player coming out of it.
That's right. And they want to bust your head because they're only making $40 a year, and they trying to get to the NBA league minimum, which is $5 million.
I thought so. It's even more than I thought. He's making 7.2. I thought it was 5.
Wow. But it don't matter. Don't matter. The point is, multi-millionaire right out of high school.
Yeah.
And don't forget too, with the advent of EA Sports coming back with their college football and college basketball, that's already that's pretty much guaranteed NIL money to start. Like depending on where you are, because they're that was the whole debate. That's why that game was shut down. That's why both of those games were shut down.
Does that mean everybody gets a little bit? Does that mean everybody gets at least a little?
Everybody gets a little bit, but the athlete gets more. Before it was the NCAA got everything.
Now it trickles down to the players. But I'm saying even if
they still get theirs.
But I'm saying, say you're like a backup right guard for University of Cincinnati, but
shout out to the Bearcats.
Shout out to the Bearcats. Do you have a Bearcat hat?
No, I just know a lot of college mascots.
So, but would that guy get money now from the NIL because he's part of the NCAA game?
Yeah, because your character is in it. You just may not. You may be second string, so you might get a half a cent every for like the thing. So you might
every 3 months he gets his check for his royalty check.
It might be a couple grand, might be $1,500, $2,000. You know what I mean? But it's something.
And it's earned because they're there,
and they have to do it because they're using you. They're using your likeness and your name. They got to pay you. It's just,
I feel bad for the kids that have gone through it and have not been able to get that. And now all of a sudden, this generation is, and that last generation didn't have that opportunity. So I feel bad for those guys.
Reggie Bush got his Heisman Trophy taken away for taking money because he needed it. Imagine if Reggie Bush had NIL. He might have made $50 million. You know how
in the college he was about as good as it gets.
Do you remember how popular Reggie Bush was?
Had himself a Kardashian and everything.
Huh?
I said had himself a Kardashian and everything.
He had
the Kardashian. So
there
you go. I don't know. I've always been partial to Courtney. I don't know.
Hey, that's your thing. Everybody got their own.
That's just you, bro.
It's just me.
You and Travis.
Me and Travis Barker. All right. NBA reportedly considering return to East versus West for All-Stars. Plus
Love
other
it.
All-Star changes. I love it too. Dude,
Love it.
Is it dopey, the whole team captain thing? It's
Yes.
dopey, right?
I hate it.
I can't stand it.
Did you see how Jokic was almost the last pick?
Oh,
Like,
it's ridiculous.
it was. I was like, are
That's how
guys
you punk a
fun?
player too. That's how you punk a player when you say, "Listen, you talk."
That's why he
the
about
two
to
captains
switch
talk each other.
LeBron because LeBron. It was LeBron's pick between him and one person. LeBron was like, all right, I'll take Jokic. Like, look, and Jokic said, okay. I will remember that.
Nigel, do you like this going back to the East-West thing better too?
Yeah, 1,000%, man. I thought that the having team captains, I thought that was a great gimmick to try. I think they probably should have only done it like for a couple seasons, a couple years, maybe try it out, have fun with it, and then just walk away from it. Because the idea of it is super fun. Like I liked the idea of it. But then after that, I'm like, let's just clean it up, man. East West, just like how it used to be. Give us those the branding of the two sides, none of this flashy stuff, and let's just have at it, man. Who's the best out of the conference? And I think it will just add a little bit more not only camaraderie amongst the two conferences or the two divisions, but it'll just add a little bit more like beef, man. A little bit more like
a little rivalry, right?
A little rivalry. You know, So I'm on board. Yeah, give us the East versus West.
What about doing a tournament? Hear me out in the chicken seconds. I don't like doing the captains either. But what about instead of doing it by conference, doing it by division, and then having a tournament that whole weekend?
Like what? Like
probably too many games.
Yeah, but you know they don't play hard enough to get hurt in these games anyway. So it's just really kind of just like it might as well be like
they're not going to want to do that. There's no way the players want to play more games like a tournament.
What if you did it? What if you didn't do it in the full 4 quarters? But you did like 2 10-minute halves, let's say, for each game.
Nah.
Still no, Nigel. No.
I didn't even hear what you're saying.
Nigel, that's kind of rude. Nigel,
see, Caleb, I can be a jerk. Okay, I can be a jerk.
Wow, I can't believe nobody was like, not even like, oh, maybe, like straight up, no. All right,
I don't want more games now.
But I do like but I do rather East and West. I'm tired of the whole captain thing. I think it's dumb. All right, last topic of the day before we get out of here. We're getting out nice and early. Carmelo Anthony announces his retirement. So happy trails, Carmelo. Guys, let's go over some of what he's done. He's part of the 75th anniversary team, 10-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA team. He was the third pick in the 2003 draft, which was made go down in history as one of the best all-time drafts. Scoring champion in 2013 for my Knicks. Won a national championship with Syracuse. Also won 3 gold medals for the Olympics. 28,289 points in his career, which was 22.5 points. 7,808 rebounds for his career and 3,422 assists for his career, which that surprises me because as a Knick, I've not seen him pass the ball very much. Although I loved having him. Let me ask you guys this real quick before we get out of here. What team do you think, I know it's not like baseball where you wear a certain cap and that's the team that you go in as. With basketball, it's a little bit, you're not really known, you don't go in as a certain player for a certain team necessarily. But when you think back of Carmelo's career, what would you fondly remember him as? A Knick, a Nugget? Like where?
A Nugget.
You remember him as a Nugget? What about you, Nigel?
An Orange Man.
You both broke my heart 2 topics in a row. I don't even know what to say right now. Let down completely by my team. Two picks in a row, 2 topics in a row. He's a Knick, man. He's a Knick. Oh, I remember they had the I'm coming home. I was at the game. His first game as a Knick. I was at the game. It was my son's first Knick game. Man, yeah, I had him as I'm surprised. Do you think that's how generally most people look at him too as a Nugget?
Well, I do because I just remember him like the playoff pushes and him trying to get out of that first round for so long, and the Nuggets would always get in and then get bounced, and like it was like his thing, and he was so like wanted to do his own thing and like be able to compete with the Lakers and not join a team, and then it didn't work. So it's interesting.
Let me ask you one more question before we get out of here. Is this it for him? Do you expect a comeback next year? Do we expect him to kind of say, "Hey, wait, you know what? Somebody could use some help at the trade deadline"? You think so too, Nigel?
Yeah, I think that's a wrap. I think he's better off doing that too. I don't think I don't think he can play anymore. Not in a bad way. I just don't think he can play anymore, man. It's fine. The pace is so much faster than he was even used to, and especially even at the time. So it's cool, man. Just you're fine. You're fine.
My thought on it is, to be fair, he's kind of been that guy the last few years anyway. A guy that didn't really sign with the team till later. It almost felt like he came out of retirement to go play for the Lakers when he played for the Lakers that little run. So I agree. I think at this point it's time. Let's remember what he did so fondly. Let's remember him as a Knick, though, guys. Let's remember him as a Knick, please. So yeah, that'll do it for today's show, guys. So let's go around and before we do that, let me just say on Wednesday we'll be back Wednesday. It'll be me, Caleb, Abby, and Matt Hamilton. Nigel will not be with us this Wednesday, but he'll be back the following week. And then Friday we won't be here due to the holiday. So Friday and Monday we're taking a 4-day weekend, so we won't be here for those 2 days because of the Memorial Day weekend. Just because I know most people might not be in their offices, being able to watch us on their phones. So we're going to take those 2 days off. But we will be here Wednesday, and we will be Nigel-less, which after the last couple of topics where Nigel was so damn rude to me, maybe it's not a bit, maybe we need a little space. But having said that, Nigel, my man, last words of the day.
Listen, we had our long weekend here in Canada this weekend, so I hope that you guys have a fantastic long weekend next weekend coming up. And you know what I might do? I might just buy another hat.
I like it. What do we know what team? Is it a Bearcat hat?
Who knows? I mean, I really don't need to buy any more hats, guys. They're all right here, and I have some I've never even seen, so it's fine.
How many hats do you have? Do we even have a number?
No, I'll see if I can get that number for you.
Get us that number when you come back next week. I'm just curious because I've been on between this and Disney podcast and everything else that we've done together. I've never seen you rock the same hat twice.
That will not happen for a very long time.
So yeah, I need to know how many hats you have. Yeah. Caleb, last words of the day, man.
All right, everybody, spread love. It's the Brooklyn way. Have a great one.
There you go. And guys, have a great today, a better tomorrow, and we will see you Wednesday.
Peace.
That's the pop off for today, folks. Thank you to all of our listeners, as well as our producers, Patty Puddles and Fareed Kameo. And make sure you tune in tomorrow to hear what these hooligans will pop off about next.